Welcome back to Ben Salutes. And when I was a kid, when somebody died, people got over it really quickly. Universal Pictures. The oldest American movie company is known for many things. The future, the Earthworm Jim cartoon, and several other things in the entertainment media. There are a few things I know them for. Abbott and Costello, Woody Woodpecker, and the subject of today's salute, monster movies. Universal is a studio that in the 30s and 40s helped make the horror genre a worldwide phenomenon and make several monsters household names. With me recently getting all the Universal's legacy collections this past Christmas, I think it's a great time to salute the monsters of Universal Pictures. So, get ready to have your blood drained, your mind stolen, your body mauled to death, your stuff to float in midair, yourself mummified, and your idea of swimming in lagoons ruined. Here is my salute on Universal Monsters. What I'd like to start with is what makes the Universal Monster movies so great. Well, there is the fact that they are real horror movies. Now, when it comes to the horror genre, a lot of people have different interpretations on what it means. Some think they are movies that keep repeating themselves, others think that they are about killer stalking naughty teenagers, and some think they are so bad they're good. Well, the actual true meaning of horror film is a film that exploits dark emotions, like sadness and fear, and although these movies aren't scary by today's standards, that doesn't stop them from still being depressing. There are several elements in Universal horror films that make them stand out among other horror films. They are full of sadness, monstrosity, madness, and are very sympathetic. I'll get to examples of those later. I'd also like to talk about all the effort that was put into these movies. People take for granted the effects of these movies, but they were actually revolutionary for their time and are still revolutionary to this day. I mean, can you imagine how hard it was to have all the makeup put on Boris Karloff's face for his Frankenstein movies? Or all the time it took for special effects artists to think of how they were going to be able to make the Invisible Man invisible? Or all that walking poor Lon Chaney Jr. had to do while wrapped up as the Mummy. People like to make fun of old movies for their bad special effects, but these aren't the movies to watch for those. There's no doubt the effects are top notch, and they had nothing but the best effort put into them. We have it so easy now these days with computer effects, but back then all you had was makeup and film techniques. And, in my opinion, that is a better achievement than using a computer to do all the work for you. Don't believe me? On average, for their makeup, Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. had to sit in a chair for 5 hours as Jack Pierce applied it. Let me tell you, that makeup didn't always stay on. Keep that in mind. Next, there was all the great actors that existed in these movies. When a lot of people think of horror movies, they think of bad actors. Not in these movies, folks. These movies had some of the greatest actors to come out of the golden age of Hollywood. Bela Lugosi as the creepy Dracula and the vengeful Igor in Son of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff as the monstrous Frankenstein monster and the lustful mummy, Lon Chaney Jr. as the vicious and agile Wolfman, and later the Mummy, and Frankenstein's monster. There was also the classy Claude Rains as the Mad Invisible Man. These actors, including several others, were the original kings of horror and gave audiences chills even years after their most famous performances. Now, I like to talk about the things that really made these movies awesome. The monsters. These monsters are some of the greatest movie monsters of all time. They're creepy, creative, and are also very sympathetic. Them one by one. There's Dracula. He's a vampire that is forced to feed off the blood of the living due to his curse of being a vampire. Dracula is a great character because he can turn whoever he wants to into slaves. He can turn into a bat at will, and he gets all the ladies. except for the ladies who have strange fetishes for sparkling vampires. He also can technically not be considered a bad guy because it's not his fault he's a vampire. He has to live off the blood of others to survive. We just consider him bad because he hurts us. Well, talk about hypocrisy. We eat animals all the time. How come we're not considered bad? Huh? Huh? Bottom line, Dracula is an awesome monster who made Hungarian accents cool. Next, my personal favorite Universal monster, Frankenstein's monster. A lot of people don't know that Frankenstein is the name of the creator, not the creation, so I love correcting people who make that mistake. Look, it's Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein's monster, you idiotic simpleton! Get it right! Anyway, the monster is my personal favorite of Universal's monsters because he is so lovable. Granted, he's a gigantic killer, but there is more to him than that. He is just a creature that was created by a mad scientist who was doomed to be ridiculed for his ugliness and monstrosity. He can be seen as a tragic hero in some way. He tries to be loved by people, but the ignorance of man are afraid of him due to his appearance. The poor thing. It's not his fault his dang creator made him. Dang it, Henry Frankenstein, why must you be such a jerk? Anyway, when the monster shows his ugly side and kills people, he does it to defend himself. If people came at me with pitchforks and torches, I might say, I'm going to love and tolerate the crap out of you. But I understand the monster's way of dealing with angry villagers. So, I root for the monster when he starts slamming his hammer-like fists on people's shoulders. Monster! Monster! He's our monster! If he kills you, you're dead! Go monster! So, Frankenstein's monster is my favorite of Universal's monsters, because he's just a little kid trapped in a monster's body that if you don't have sympathy for, you have no soul! The Wolfman is another Universal monster I like. Like Frankenstein's monster, he can also be seen as a tragic hero. He was bitten by a werewolf to try to save a woman. During every full moon, he turns into a wolf and mauls people to death. Again, it's really sad to see this poor man put into such a predicament. Poor Larry Talbot was just a normal, everyday guy, and then, out of nowhere, he gets turned into a werewolf. It's true, bad things do happen to good people. However, the Wolfman stands out because he knows all the trouble he causes, so he wants to try to kill himself so he doesn't cause any more harm. What a brave and honest man. Other werewolves in films go mad with their power, but not Larry Talbot. Good job, Larry. Despite his regret, I love the wolf side of Larry Talbot. The Wolfman is quick and agile, and his growls and makeup make him one cool monster. What's also great is Lon Chaney Jr. doing all of his athletic moves by himself. He must have taken gymnastics in high school. And Lon Chaney Jr. is the only actor in the Universal Monster movies to play the one monster that made him famous in every movie he appeared in. That's one claim Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi can't make. Bottom line, the Wolfman is one cool monster that is what I think of when I think of werewolves. The Mummy is a different kind of Universal monster. Most may remember the Mummy as a limping killing machine wrapped in bandages. Although he's like that later, he didn't start out like that. In the original Mummy movie, Boris Karloff played a mummy who was resurrected. However, the only shot where he's in bandages is at the beginning of the film. For the rest of the movie, he's a restored human being named Imhotep, who's focused on marrying his mummy princess, who was also resurrected. What makes the Mummy different is he uses lots of curses to do his killing. He doesn't have to be close to you to kill you, and he looks like a normal human being, so you would never suspect he was a mummy. However, as the Mummy movies went on, they focused on a new mummy named Kharis, and he was the one who is the limping killing machine wrapped in bandages. He is mostly controlled by those who resurrect him. However, he's still a cool monster. Although I love Imhotep for being a lustful and more talkative monster, I also like Kharis for being the killer we love in monsters. So, I love both these different mummies. These are two Egyptians I wouldn't want to mess with. Here is, in my opinion, the real monster of all of Universal's monsters. The Invisible Man is a man who goes mad with power after he turns himself invisible. So, he uses his power to mess with people and kill them. He originally started out as Jack Griffin, but after he was killed, it was Griffin's brother who took over, as a man accused of murder he didn't commit, who uses the invisibility to escape from prison, which was one of Vincent Price's earliest film roles. Then, the Invisible Man movies just turned into goofy comedies from there. However, Claude Rains' original Invisible Man was one dastardly bad guy. He stole stuff from people, taunted them, and killed them in the most brutal ways possible. He was such a jackhole. What's great about the Invisible Man is you can't see him, so you never know when he's coming. And when you can't see him and he kills you, you're being killed by a naked man. Believe me, there are better ways I'd wish to be killed. Bottom line, the Invisible Man is an awesome monster that proves that what you can't see really is scarier than what you can. Finally, the monster that is loved by fans but is ignored by the public is the creature from the Black Lagoon. He is another monster that's misunderstood. There he was, just minding his own business in his lagoon. Then a bunch of jerk humans come along and tamper with his water. This angers the creature, who is attracted to the main ladies of the movies he's in. Aww, all the monster wants is some lovin'. Anyway, despite people invading his territory, they also capture him and put him in SeaWorld-like place, and, in his last movie, they try to turn him human. Man, can't you leave the poor thing alone? Anyway, what makes the creature awesome is he's an aquatic monster. He makes you not want to go into a body of water. He is also strong. He tosses people away as if they're rag dolls. And he makes awesome noises. I never get tired of hearing his roars. Bottom line, the creature is a monster that has a huge cult following among monster fans, and I can see why. Now, I'd like to go back to those depressing moments I mentioned earlier. Like I said, the Universal Monster movies have some of the saddest moments ever put on film. Some of the biggest examples I can think of is in Bride of Frankenstein, when the monster becomes friends with a blind man. The blind man is happy to finally have a friend. However, after they bond very well, hunters come to the man's cottage and attack the monster, causing him to have to run away and getting rid of the blind man's friend. Another one I can think of is in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, when the main girl throws her cigarette in the water and the creature sees her do it. You can just feel how the creature feels to his home being polluted. And then, there was the moment in House of Frankenstein where the gypsy girl calls Daniel the Hunchback ugly and tells him she hates him. What? This stuff is sad, folks. Bottom line, Universal Monsters are great at emotional moments, and they are some of the few moments where I almost cry at a movie. Almost. Finally, one great thing Universal did with their monsters is pair them with Abbott and Costello. You would expect the comedy duo to make embarrassments out of the monsters, but the exact opposite happens. They actually stay funny while the monsters stay scary, perfectly blending comedy and horror. It's always fun watching the monsters scare the heck out of the boys, and it only helps the monsters look more menacing. These movies are good proof that horror and comedy blend well together. Horror rely on scares, while comedies rely on laughs. It's as if they're the same genre. That's why neither of them win Oscars. Shows what the Oscars know. Stupid Oscars. And there is my salute on the Universal Monsters. Although these movies aren't scary by today's standards, they're still great examples as to the history of horror films. What makes them great is they don't rely on blood and very detailed special effects to be scary. They mostly rely on motions, atmosphere, and great acting to be creepy. And in my opinion, that is the best way to make a horror film. So, who are your favorite Universal Monsters? What are your favorite moments from Universal Monster movies? Comment below and we'll chat away like the geeks at a Star Wars convention. I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. I'm going to go create an original monster.